are making ripples, creating those waves, and the train has left the station. I'm so excited to bring you our next awesome change makers who are just like you on this journey to really build that brand, create that ripple of impact, and make that income that really celebrates so that you can do more with that income, right? We've got to be creating that impactful income. If you're not making income, you can't be making impacts. And if you're not making impacts, you certainly won't make that income. Let's make your next 30 days in your business as you're building your brand as easy as we possibly can by bringing some of our experience to this stage and compressing the amount of time that it takes you to do the same things that it took us many years to learn the hard way. So, my darlings, we have an amazing lineup for you today. But before we go into day number 2, just want to say a big hello to those of you that are joining us on day 2. There is a day 1, as you've probably guessed. If you go into the guide section of the One Drop Movement Facebook group, you'll not only find our session from yesterday, but you'll actually find our previous RippleFEST sessions as well. My advice for the replays is get your headphones on, get out, go for a walk and listen to these sessions. It's like listening to a really inspiring podcast. And because you're in momentum and you're in movement, putting that one foot in front of the other, I tend to find that loads more comes to me than when I'm just sitting here watching and tuning in. So do tune in, engage with our speakers this evening. Do use the comment section of the Facebook group. So those of you that are joining us backstage on Zoom, please do make sure if you are making any comments, put them in the Facebook group under this live session so we can keep everything in the same place. So we've got another incredible lineup for you today, and this is the perfect opportunity to go further faster and to not do it on your own. The ripple makers that have joined us, that are dropping in with us at One Drop Movement today, they've learned some massive things the hard way that you don't have to. And if you're going through that process and you're learning it the hard way right now, then let's just stop that massive learning curve. Let's reduce that learning curve and collapse that time that it's taking you to learn. But also, we don't want to cut corners. If you cut corners, you end up going round in circles, and that's definitely what we're here to support you to do, is to, yes, take some shortcuts, but don't cut corners, because cutting corners is an incredibly painful lesson that I think each and every one of us has learned. Give me a hashtag cutting corners if you've ever bought cheap toilet roll and then you regretted it. The whole cheap toilet roll thing, right? It looks like it's a good deal, but it's not. It's the same thing with coaching. You don't go and employ a plumber for open heart surgery. That's why I have reached out to my extraordinary network of entrepreneurs, change makers, life-changing speakers, motivational experts, and most importantly, activators. These are people that are actually doing it. They are getting shit done in the field that they are here to support you with. This isn't stuff that they just read from a book and they're coming and sharing it with you. This is hard-won experience, hard-won losses and hard-won wins that they're here to support you with. So give me a hashtag go faster stripes if you are indeed ready to go faster. Hashtag go faster stripes, because we want to put some go faster stripes on your business. So whether you're tuning in live with us right now, which it's hello for those of you that are tuning in live right now, for those of you that are watching the replay, I want you to go through this session as if you are joining us live, because to us you are. And every time you put a comment, we're going to get a notification in our timelines to let us know that you've commented. So we're going to see those of you that are really taking action and that are engaging. So today we're going to go even deeper with the most amazing motivational speaker. She's a business coach. Her name is Dagmar Bryant, and she's going to be revealing her session on how to step up, rise up, wise up, and shine. How many of you are ready to shine brighter? Give me a hashtag shine brighter in the comments below. And then we're going to ripple forward with the burnout coach. We're going to dive into Phil Horrod's journey and take you into his breakthrough session on how you can break through your burnout patterns so that you build a better business. And those of you that No, my journey very much comes from burning out and walking away from my 7.8 million pound business because I was so burned out. That's why I'm here. I don't want another business owner to build a brand that burns them out. And I just will do everything I can to make sure that doesn't happen. And I'll keep bringing you the most phenomenal experts that are sharing their journeys with you, so you don't go through that process the hard way like we've had to. And then we're going to end today's session with the beautiful change maker, ripple maker extraordinaire, gorgeous spiritual coach, Ann Varney, who's going to get us into our heart space. Who's ready to get into your heart space? Give us hashtag heart space. Give us a hashtag avoid burnout. I forgot to get you to do that hashtag for Phil when he's going to join us later. So guys and girls, we are very excited to be creating these ripples and making these waves with you. These three incredible change makers said yes to their dream. They said yes to their purpose. They said yes to themselves. And they said yes to coming back to support you. So I cannot wait to get them up here so you can meet them. Let's get our first glorious ripple maker up here onto the stage. Remember, use the comments below. We're going to dive into her journey, but also she's got an incredible activity for us to do this evening as well. In fact, all three of our speakers this evening have stuff for you to do. So don't think that you're going to get away with being passive and listening in and being inspired. That's great, but I want you to get shit done. We want to take some action that's going to get you the traction that you want to have. So let's bring Dagmar up onto the screen. We've got Dagmar Bryant. She's a PhD. She's based in the UK, although she's an Australian motivational speaker. She's a business coach who actively empowers and inspires women to pursue their dreams and desires. She's an uplifting, thought-provoking speaker and coach who combines both heart and head to help women unleash their best selves. Guys and girls, give it up for the amazing Dagmar. Dagmar, come on up.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Can you hear me nice and loudly, clearly?
I hear you beautifully, my darling. Guys and girls, give us a hashtag applause, hashtag Dagmar. We're very excited to have you here, Dagmar. And oh my gosh, like there's so many layers to you and your story. For those ripple makers that don't know you yet, please like introduce yourself, tell us who you are and why you love doing what you do so much.
Well, as Sammy gave me that absolutely wonderful introduction, so I am a business coach and a motivational speaker. My story is about empowerment and breaking free of two very difficult men in my life. One was my father and one was an ex-husband. And both of them had the philosophy of it's my way or the highways. Now, for your audience, you may appreciate this. How many of you ever got to that point where you're thinking to yourself, that highway is looking mighty fine. Give me a hashtag 1 if you agree that you decided enough was enough.
Yeah, I'll put that hashtag 1 in there. Someone put that hashtag 1 in there for me, will you? Yes, yes.
And so what I want to do now is, because I've had that journey, I want to empower other women to really be able to achieve their own goals. I want to help them break through their limitations, because those men in my life were saying to me, you have to do it this way. You have to do it that way. Oh, and by the way, let's do this, without ever having any consideration for what my wants and needs were. And I think that is so important. And what I want to help you do going forward is really break through your own limitations and possibly even finding that path. And I really do hope that you will find that path to be able to find your own mission, your own purpose, your own why around what you want to help others with yourself. And I'm just very passionate about that.
And you can see how passionate you are. And I love the work that you're doing. I'm very, very inspired by how you're doing it. And you know, I love getting behind ripple makers like yourself to get your voice out there to the world, because it's a message that is so desperately needed. Dagmar, let's dive into a little bit from the business growth point of view, because you've been through so much. There's so many experiences we could talk about, but today we're talking about how you really owned your value, how you stepped up, how you rose up, how you wised up, and how you shone like the beacon of hope that you are right now. And we've got lots of ripple makers all over the world that are like, how do we do that? Like, if they're in that position that you were in, how do you go from there to really showing up and shining in what you want to do?
Well, part of that, the answer to that question is through a system that I have developed, and it's called the Essential Empowerment System, and it actually takes you through those steps. And I'd like to take you through one of those steps, and it's all about alignment. And how do you do that? You start by asking the question of yourself, is this where I want to be? And it's got to start from your heart, not your head. So often we get caught up in what we perhaps perceive that we should do, maybe we could do, and we forget. We forget who we really are. And when we listen to our heart, that can help us take that initiative and take those steps. And one of the things that I would also give your audience is to say, do you say yes to everything but yourself? And I think that is so important. I mean, take a note of that. Do you forget to honor who you are? And they're the kind of things that you need to start with, honoring yourself. And what I find really interesting was only in the media this morning, Meghan Markle made the comment about on her podcast about being criticized for being too ambitious. And sometimes we also take on shit that is not our own, and we take on societal expectations, we take on expectations from other people. And what I would like you to do, if you're listening to this podcast, to this show today, this vidcast, I'd like you to write down, are you listening to your heart? And secondly, I'd like you to ask yourself, what is one thing that you can do today to reclaim your strength, to reclaim your power and who you are and what it is you want? I know that was a few questions, but it's kind of like all bound into one. What is that one thing that you could be doing to reclaim who you are and who you want to be?
Amazing. So let's deep dive a little bit more into those questions to break them down a little bit. And by the way, guys, like, how many of you have got to that point where it's like you're at a crossroads and you know that purpose is calling you, it's calling you to a higher game? So make sure you put your comments in the comments below this video so that we can go back and we can look through them, and I can see them all now coming in. Dagmar, can you just repeat the first question? Let's spend a minute or so just on that first question and get everybody to answer that, and then we'll go into the second question again.
Absolutely. So the first question is, are you being too accommodating to everybody else before yourself?
Okay, so give us a yes, yes, yes if you are doing that and you know that you're doing that. I'd also love to know, on a scale of 1 to 10, like how big is that for you? Like, are you doing it a little bit? Have you worked on yourself? So it's like a 5 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10. Out of 10, how big is this for you? So that we can work out, not only do you have it, but how big is the gap between where you are and being able to move through it? So give us a score out of 10 in the comments below. All right, brilliant, guys. Well done. Keep them coming. All right. And Carol, I can see that you're commenting in Zoom, so I'll keep an eye on Zoom for you. Everyone else, keep that coming in the Facebook group. All right, brilliant. So, and before we move on to that second question, then, what happens if they recognize that there's actually a huge gap? There may be a 2 out of 10.
Well, I would recommend finding someone that you can talk to about that, because whether it's me, whether it's Sammy, whether it's other people that we know, we all have mentors, accountability partners. So is there someone who you can check in with who can help you with the answer to those questions? Because how we see ourselves can be quite different to how we really are.
Yeah, completely. I mean, how often, guys and girls, have you had somebody like really shine the light on your brilliance, and you're like, well, I just do that naturally. Like, you don't value yourself. That's what today is all about, right? Owning your value. And there are so many things that other people value about you that you don't even see, and you're completely blind to it. And it takes somebody to say it to you. But when they say it to you, do you freaking receive it? Do you receive it? I used to be shockingly shit at taking compliments. I went through an exercise when I was on a documentary a few years ago called Awakening Giants. And one of the processes that they did, which was really tough for me, like, you don't realize how tough it is until you're doing it, when they got us into pairs and we had to tell the other person, oh my God, you're so amazing. I love your hair. You've got beautiful eyes. I love your glasses. I love what you're wearing, right? And you had to give all these compliments, and it felt really good to be giving them, but then you had to receive them, and just how difficult it was to receive those compliments, right? And so then what we had to do was then, when that person gave us compliments, we had to say, what, this? No, I hate my hair. Oh, these glasses? No, I had them for years. And you had to kind of come back with this, like, no, this is shit sort of thing, because that's what we do. And it was so good to recognize that we do it. And since then, I've really been working on my my muscle for accepting compliments when they come in. So guys and girls, thank you. Really active in that chat there. Keep them coming. Dagmar, let's come on to that second question once more.
Well, the next one that I had was about, do you hide your strength? Are you afraid? Do you hold yourself back from really fulfilling your potential? Because perhaps are you a little bit afraid to shine, which is a follow-on from what you just said about, you know, accepting that wonderful light that you might be, well, actually that you are.
Yeah. So again, on a score of 0 to 10, so that we can work out where that gap is, let's hear your, well, see. We're hearing and seeing through the chat this evening, so keep those comments coming in. Dagmar, just you know, what happens with that if they find that they're a 2 or 3 or even 5 out of 10? What's the danger zone? At what point out of 10 would they need to do something, and what would you recommend they do?
I would say that we are all, each and every one of us, whether it's you, whether it's me, anyone else listening, we are all a work in progress. And it's always about reassessing where we are and knowing that there's always something else that we can learn. So I would say just acknowledge that you're a work in progress, and sometimes we have a little bit more work to do and sometimes a little bit less. It's going to vary throughout our lives. You never stop learning.
Yeah, that's so true. We just when we think we're there, and it's like, oof, there comes another summit. There comes another one to climb. Dagmar, for those people that really want to find out more about your brilliant work and what you do and how you're doing it, could you share with us, how can people get in contact with you? How can we find out more?
Well, I'd absolutely love you to get in touch via my website. It's dagmarbryant.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. It's also Dagmar Bryant, and connect with me there.
Perfect. Well, I've got all your details, so we'll make sure that goes in the description with the replay of this video. Guys and girls, give it up for the amazing Dagmar. Dagmar, thank you so much for dropping in with us at One Drop today. Really excited to have you here with us, and looking forward to seeing more of your journey, how that unfolds, and becoming a part of what we're doing here at One Drop Movement. Really looking forward to that.
Thank you so much for giving me the time to be here, and I wish you all the best.
Oh, you're very welcome. Right. Okay. Well, stay backstage if you can, Dagmar, and join in with the fun that we're having backstage. I'm now going to ripple forward. Yes, we are creating our waves. But before we do, actually, I'd love to know, what was your aha or your light bulb or something that you realized, something you were reminded of just in what Dagmar was sharing with us just then. If you put it in the comments for us, we'll be able to go back and see. So we're going to now bring on an incredible ripple maker. He certainly is making waves. He's a Christian, he's a husband, he's a dad, and he's a burnout survivor. Give us a hashtag burnout survivor if you are indeed also a burnout survivor. Actually, give us a hashtag burning out now if you feel like actually this is something that's happening for you now, so that we can see, like, where are you in this burnout cycle? Are you totally like, serene, as our lovely Simi Sandhu? She's got a beautiful program, the Serene Creator. And if you're feeling like that burnout is starting to sneak up on you, I've had a few conversations with entrepreneurs over the last couple of days, and they're like, do you know, I need a break. I think it's important that we take them. So we're going to dive in with Phil now. He's the founder of Work Life 180 coaching practice, helping people to live a much less stressful life. Following a successful 30-year corporate career, he experienced a life-changing stress-related burnout. This not only left him hospitalized and unable to work, but also feeling desperate to take his own life. After a chance encounter which took him along a completely different path, he gradually regained his health, his self-esteem, and now his sense of purpose. He now helps others to regain their own. Let's give it up for the amazing Phil Horrod. Phil, come on.
Thank you very much, Sammy. Thank you.
It's so good to have you here. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well. I've been enjoying some sunshine today, which is always good.
It is always good. It's always good. Now, Phil, where in the world are you? Where are you coming to us live from?
So we're today in sunny Buckinghamshire,
Yay!
about 25 miles northwest of London. Yeah.
Fabulous, fabulous. Well, welcome to One Drop. Thank you for dropping in with us today. Now, your title says it all, the burnout coach, but what is underneath, who is Phil? What's underneath the burnout coach bonnet? So share with us, who are you, what do you do, and why do you love doing what you do so much?
So as you rightly said earlier, Sammy, I'm a husband, I'm a dad to 2 teenagers. I had a 30-year corporate career, which was in finance. I qualified originally in business studies and then became a chartered management accountant, did various different projects around the world. And I then moved into recruitment. And those of you who know recruitment, I know you were speaking to Dee yesterday about her life in recruitment, and we've had numerous conversations about it, actually, Dee and myself. It's a really, really hectic and full-on industry. You know, you're pretty much working from early in the morning, speaking to clients when they're available. You're working weekends and late nights when you're speaking to candidates. And in between, you're doing all sorts of different things, trying to find candidates for jobs, etc. And I moved into an area of outsourcing. So when an organization was outsourcing their entire HR function or their recruitment function, and I specialized in that for quite a time. I was in the recruitment industry for about 13 years. So I was quite unusual in that industry. I was quite a lot older. Originally had my professional qualification, and lots of the people I worked with were new graduates, very hungry, very good salespeople. I'm not a salesperson. So for me, that made it doubly challenging as well. But what I found was that I was spending kind of every hour at work and with having young children, not really any time with the family. Out in the morning at 5:36 and then back in the evening, sometimes not till 10. I think everybody sort of resonates with that to some extent. And I think if we're honest, each and every one of us has probably said that thing, I wish if only I had more hours in the day. And I got to a stage where I was working about 18, 19 hours a day. And my default position has always been, when there's problems, challenges, new things to do, I just put my foot to the metal and go. Look like a lot of people, particularly entrepreneurs, particularly those people that run their own businesses. And obviously a lot of people who work in the corporate sector are similar. You know, that's kind of how they've got to where they've got to. And unfortunately, I put my boot to the metal too long and too far. And one day, 6 o'clock, my wife was helping me to iron a shirt to get out to, as normal, catch an early train. And all of a sudden, it felt like my heart was pounding out my chest. It felt like I was not right. And my arms started to feel like lead. And I remember my dad telling me he had a heart attack, telling me about those symptoms. And so I thought I was having a heart attack. My wife's a nurse. She called for the ambulance. And cut the long story short, I ended up in hospital. Thankfully, I hadn't had a heart attack. It was a major panic attack, mainly in response to the ongoing stress I'd put myself through, and other factors had put me through as well for a long period of time. But instead of ending up in a normal hospital for a heart attack, I actually ended up in a mental health day unit because it just felt like my head had exploded. And in fact, in some respects it had. I ended up being kept in hospital for a while. I was actually going to be sectioned because all of my experience of that point kind of turned me into somebody that I'm a completely different person. And again, cutting a long story short, it meant that I couldn't go back to work. I was just physically exhausted, mentally exhausted, not just exhausted, but completely burnt out. You know, I think that's where the terminology maybe originally came from. You know, if you're burning a candle at both ends, as they say, guess what? The candle is going to completely burn out. And that's what I did to myself. So I became a stay-at-home dad for about 5 years. In fact, that was my recovery period. That was my period where I was able to spend time with the kids and the family and sort of recoup some of the time that I'd lost when I was in my corporate career. And at that point, my wife transitioned her career, which was really useful from a family perspective. I wasn't working at that stage. And eventually I got to the stage where I thought I better pay some bills along with my wife, and got to the stage where I decided actually not to go back in the corporate world. Just didn't want to, had enough of that, as a lot of people who work for themselves now have you know, can resonate with. That's why they decide to work for themselves. That's what I did. I retrained as a coach, met some amazing coaches, amazing therapists, amazing people. And originally I was doing business mentoring off the back of my finance career. I was helping a lot of coaches to start their business and to scale, but I felt there was something missing. And I kept asking myself about the thing about why did I go through what I went through from a burnout perspective, not what caused it, although I did ask those questions, but there must be a purpose to it. There must be something that I could use it for. And so that's how I decided to become a burnout coach. That's why I decided to help other people to prevent or recover, avoid their own burnouts, and also work with organizations to help their employees and their people to prevent them burning out, to avoid burnout.
Wow,
so that's what I do now.
Freaking hell. So to like not just end up in hospital, but to almost be committed to a mental health hospital.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very serious burnout. And you know, fortunately, I recognize the symptoms. I had exactly the same symptoms as you, and thought it was a heart attack. Luckily, it wasn't. But it took 4 times of experiencing that before the consultant said to me, "Miss Blindell, you have to change what you're doing. If we see you in this room even one more time, we cannot guarantee that what you're doing to your body is going to be reversible. You must change." And I think that's the key thing, isn't it? It's it's one thing to have the symptoms and for them to get that little bit worse and keep ignoring them, but it's another thing to ignore the signs so much that you could actually end up with some irreversible health issues. You know, and that's something that I'm really fucking serious about, that when we're building our businesses, that we don't get brand burnout.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
so Phil, you know, because it's patterns, isn't it? And I recognize, you know, with that, I went through all of that and then built my next business, global business, traveling all over the world. And then I find myself burning out again. So they're patterns, aren't they? And we can keep repeating them, although we get to like notice the signs quicker and quicker each time. But what can we do to really break those burnout patterns, Phil, so that we don't have to keep learning out the hard way?
So I think some of it is a bit of self-analysis. You know, there's no one silver bullet. There's no one sort of panacea that can get us to a stage where we can avoid burnout. But that thing about recognition, you know, recognition, as you've rightly said, Sammy, I know so many people, and myself included, you know, I had some mini burnouts before my really big one. And part of the challenge, I think, is that for people who are kind of perfectionists, people who are highly driven, people who are success orientated, you know, people who are go-getters, and people who work for themselves in particular, and particularly those who have a sort of trait, and I started with that trait myself, but feeling like you need to do everything yourself.
Yeah. Just before you move on there, I want to know, hashtag, are you a go-getter? Hashtag, are you a trendsetter? Hashtag, are you, Phil, what were some of the things you just said there?
Yeah, so somebody who's really driven, somebody who's success orientated.
Hashtag success oriented. Give us a hashtag for which one do you relate to the most?
Yeah, I think all of those traits. But what we don't always realize is that those traits come from our life experiences. You know, we've all had a childhood of some kind, and everybody knows, you know, that our childhood experiences, our experiences of growing up, our interactions maybe in our first job or what we do for education has a major influence on us. And those influences sort of end up with a conclusion of your values and your beliefs, mainly your values and your beliefs about yourself, even though quite often those are subconscious. We don't necessarily consciously know about those things. And as a consequence, as you rightly said, Sammy, we end up sort of repeating the patterns because they're based on those values, they're based on those beliefs. And a fundamental thing to try and break those patterns is to actually sit back, to look at yourself, look at what are your beliefs, what are your values, and that's where coaching comes in majorly. You know, until I was qualified as a coach, I'd never really heard about, you know, the value wheel and various other aspects that are used in coaching to try and get people to think about those things, because it's not something we think about every day.
Yeah,
you don't wake up on a Thursday morning thinking, oh, I just check what my values are, you know, what my beliefs are over this weekend, you know. But if we do that, and particularly if we do it with a trusted person, that could be a partner, parent, a trusted friend, a coach, whoever it is, to talk about those, actually when you're talking about them, it can often take you back in your mind, in your experiences, and you can realize that actually, yeah, what I'm doing there actually came from this particular experience. And actually, I've realized that it's a pattern. I do that all the time. And I recognized myself that with my experiences, the drive for me was that when I was about 18, my dad was made bankrupt. Which had a major influence on us as a family. And it was only when I reviewed my own values, my own beliefs after my burnout, that I recognized that all of my sort of work in life, I'd striven to be as successful as I could. But I actually was focused from a negative perspective. You know, I was running away from something as opposed to running towards something.
Interesting. And actually, just on that point there, you know, have a lot of brand builders and ripple makers that, as we're going through the branding process, the brand building process, one of the highest values that comes up again and again and again, and it is a little bit of a trick, I do put the word in there just to see who's drawn to it, is freedom. And of course, freedom is a move towards, but it's also a move you're moving away from, because what do you want to be free of?
Free from, yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point.
I recognize that.
Really good point. I mean, a question that I'd asked everybody really, and it's something that I do within my coaching, is I ask people, you know, what's your measure of your life success? What's your measure of success? And a lot of people, you know, particularly those of us in the 80s who were driven by sort of, you know, yuppies and all those sort of days, it was about chasing the money. It was about getting up the greasy pole as quickly and as far as you can from a corporate career. Also, if you're working for yourself, it's, you know, I want to be successful, to be a, you know, earning 6 or 7 figures. I want to be a multi-millionaire, or I want that car, I want this holiday, I want that house. They're all material things. And it would be really interesting if the viewers can pop maybe in the comments what their definition of success is for them. And I would imagine that a large proportion of them would put something around a monetary value. But what we have to recognize is that the money, which is great at the end of the day, because we all need money, especially in today's environment, the money is the reward for success. What I mean by that is the money is the end result. Obviously, the end result might be a great holiday, a great house, but the money is the result. Success is the journey. It's the journey you go on, because if you have an unhappy journey, if you're not passionate about what you're doing, if you are continually stressed out, exhausted, you know, completely knackered, that's not a good journey. That's not success.
That's also very difficult, isn't it? Like if you're in that energy, you know, you're not also then being the best demonstration of what it is that you teach and what you do. You know, it's an important part. Phil, I really want to keep going, but
I'm conscious of the time.
We're really against time. If there was one extra thing that you'd want to leave our audience with this evening, what would that be?
Talk to somebody who knows you. Talk on a regular basis with them. And when you ask them how they are, also talk about how you are. And don't do that thing that a lot of people do on social media. My life's fine, it's great, it's all dandy. Be honest. Talk to somebody who you can gain that all important honesty back. Have integrity about how you're feeling. And if you're not feeling right, if your sleep is out of kilter, if you're worried, you're exhausted, you're anxious about everything, then seek some assistance in whichever way works for you. You know, if we woke up one day and had a massive pain in our chest, we'd go to the GP to get it sorted. You wouldn't wait a year to get it sorted. Don't wait for a year to get something like stress, like burnout sorted. Get it sorted straight away as soon as you can. Recognize the symptoms, recognize yourself, know yourself, and do something about it.
Amazing. Hashtag get it sorted, guys. Hashtag get it sorted.
Get it sorted.
Phil, how can people find out more about you? Where can they go to connect with you, collaborate with you, partner with you, joint venture with you? How can they get in touch with you?
So I tend to live on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn's always a great way. Just message me and I'll message you back. I'm on Facebook too, not quite as much. My website is worklife180.com, and people can also email me at philip@worklife180.com.
All right, perfect. We'll get all those details in with the replay in the description. Phil, thank you for dropping in with us at one.
Thank you for having us, Sammy. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's just so amazing to be able to deep dive and get to know each and every one of you that bit more. And we're all in different communities together and at different times, and it's so nice to all be in one place at one time, one place, one drop. So guys, give it up for the amazing Phil. What did you learn? What was your light bulb? What's your takeaway? What are you gonna freaking do about what you've just heard? It's one thing to listen to it, and it's another thing to take action on it. And I know that many of you, certainly in this community, because I'm so freaking on one about making sure that you're resting and that you're replenishing, rejuvenating, and looking after yourself as you're building that brand, so you can be that best example for your clients and those people that are looking at you and watching you as you're shining, showing up and shining. They're watching how you're doing that, and they are being influenced by who you are being, not just what you're doing. It's who you're being as you do that. And if you're being exhausted, if you're being low in energy, if you're being that opposite of what it means to be, that vitality, that walking vitality, then what is that first, last and lasting impression that you're really giving to people? So take notice, take heed, and hashtag take action. Give us a hashtag take action, guys and girls. I'm loving all of the comments that are coming in under the video today. Love it. Simi, hashtag get it sorted. Absolutely. Well, we're gonna move on. Talking of getting sorted, we're moving on with our amazing Ann Varney, who's a spiritual teacher. She's an international author, CEO of the Spiritual Awakening Academy, and has a podcast called Spiritual Abundance Creator. Her aim is to help people with their passion and purpose in a spiritual way. Anne has a postgraduate degree in psychology, and she's qualified in advanced hypnotherapy and meditation. She's an acclaimed international spiritual teacher specializing in shamanic energy healing, a master of Sekhem Reiki pranic healing, firewalk instructor. Oh, is there anything else this woman cannot do? And she's an educational leader. Guys and girls, give it up. Give us a hashtag. Anne. Bring her up onto the stage. Ann Varney, welcome.
Hi, Sammy. Boy, did that resonate with me with Dagmar and Phil. Honestly, it really, I was like you, I had 3 burnouts because I used to be a bridal designer, international bridal designer. I traveled the world, designed for international designers, and also I used to make the outfits for celebrities and your gentry, and I also used to design, for exclusive people also, and I used to teach it full time, and I was a single parent of 2 teenagers. So you can imagine, I had a lot of staff I had to look after, and the stresses, the responsibilities, and I was really burning out. I'd been burning out for a bit of a time without me actually really giving the reins up and saying, bugger it, I've had enough, and it actually took me to go to a 10-day trek to Machu Picchu, believe it or not, to go there and have what you could only class as a spiritual awakening in some respect, and seeing, shit, there's more to life than this. There's more to life than this stress and this responsibility and all the crap that goes with it, So decided I would go and retrain, I dropped, my business went to bankruptcy. I let it go to bankruptcy, just before bankruptcy, actually. And that comes with a lot of things, a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, a lot of crap, a lot of it. So I decided to go and do a master's in psychology, Who does that? Master's in psychology. I had never done anything in psychology. I went to university for a full year, but killed myself going and doing a bloody master's in psychology and child development because my passion was kids. Went and worked at child adolescence mental health with a private hospital where kids were severe anorexia. It was barbaric what they did with these kids. Barbaric. It really was. I always say to people, be careful what you wish for. You may get it. And I really did get what I wished for, but it wasn't actually what I thought I wanted, you know, and realized. So even though after my bridal business, you know, there was a few things I went and did, and before I actually became a spiritual teacher, because there was a lot of fear was around it, a lot of judgment, a lot of people who knew you were coming from a bridal industry where it was very bitchy, it was very judgmental. You know, you had to be a certain way you acted, and you know, you had to be a social queen and all the rest of it. So there was a lot of balls you were thrown up in the air to be who everybody else wanted you to be. You know?
Sounds like some massive expectations. You know, again, it's from the outside in, isn't it, guys and girls? If you've had those kind of societal or family or workplace expectations, give us tell us in the comments below, what type of expectations have you come under pressure with? Maybe it's all three. Let us know in the comments. I mean, Anne, that's a massive amount to go through. And like, I mean, you've gone through a big transformation. I think you could have spoken on all 3 days this RippleFEST about owning your identity, and then owning your value, stepping into your gift, owning your purpose, owning your lane, you know, because you've actually gone through that, as we all have, all of our speakers have, that whole process. You know, and so, you know, when it comes to stepping up and shining and being in that heart space, how did you do that? What did you do to get to that place?
So basically, I actually, a lot of people, when they come into that tension, that fear, is they run. They go the opposite way, and they don't go the way they should be going, because the tension is where the growth is. The tension is where the change happens. You know, like you said, you know, you went to the hospital 4 times, and they said you have to really change. You have to change the way that you're going to be here, and this is where a lot of people go wrong. They keep doing the same thing day in, day out, because they don't know how to change. But I've got a 7-step process that can actually help people change. So in the comments, put in something that you're stressed with or have tension with right in this moment. You know, that's in your life just now. Something there's a stressor, or there's tension around it, even someone that's triggering you. But how many people do we have in our life that actually triggers us? You know, it puts us into anger or guilt, or our kids are very good for that.
And it's funny, isn't it? Because depending on who you're around as well, I notice that when I'm around my mum, I naturally eat more around my mum. And I don't know what the hell that's about. And I noticed it last time I was there. You know, my mum, like, she's a big community person. She's a feeder. She wants, no one goes hungry at my table, you know. She's like mountains of food all the time. And it's like, as soon as I go there, it's like I step into that expectation. So I'm a little bit of a different person. And I noticed it when I was in France a few weeks ago, which is interesting, versus when you're in front of other people who you step up and become, you know, whether you step up, step down, sidestep. Like, who are you being when you're around those people? It's a really interesting question. Guys and girls, get your answers in the comments. Could you just repeat the question? And
so acknowledge where your stress, your tension is. What is actually stressing you? What's your tension? Just one word, you know.
What's stressing you out right now? What one thing is overwhelming you, or is getting in the way of your success? Okay, get that in the comments. All right, so while we wait for the comments to come in, let's move on.
Step 2, you're going to identify and name it. You're going to acknowledge the pain that you're going in, because not the story, it's what's the pain, what's the emotion. Is it, you know, because depression is a pain, anger, fear, frustration, sadness. What's the pain? You know, I'm frustrated at myself, I'm angry.
We've got a few people that have put finances in the comments, that's something that's happening all over the world right now, I'm sure. So what are the emotions? Acknowledge it. What are the emotions that are going with it?
Change the definition of it. So usually when we're angry or we're in lack, I'm skint. You know, how many people just say I'm skint? Well, instead of saying I am, say I'm having an experience of. the emotion.
Ah, okay. For those that are in the States, you might not use that terminology. I'm skint, I'm broke. You know, if you do, you get that, Carol? Just give us a thumbs up. Do you use the same language? Okay. Just checking. There are some words that don't cross-pollinate.
You're changing the definition of it. So it's instead of I am broke, you know, I'm having an experience of being broke. I'm having an experience of being angry. And watch how the energy around it, because I'm all about the energy. So watch how the energy around it changes. Just like when you take bad, the word bad out of something, the energy around that changes. So step 3 is notice what you want to do to take the pain away. What do you want to do? What action do you want to take to get out of this? You know, what do you want to do instinctively?
So this is a really interesting question, because what I tend to find if I ask a question like this is I get an away from. What I don't want is move towards what they don't want. It's like, okay, and what if you did, what do you want to move towards? Like, what is it that you actually want? So guys and girls, if you found yourself automatically going into a what I don't want, do that, recognize it and do it, and then move towards what it is that you actually want, so that you're getting it and putting your focus on that.
Because most people, what they do is they don't face it, they run away from it, they shut down, they don't say anything, you know, they'll play around and round in their head and just, they don't do anything about it. Well, you're not to do that. That's step 4. Don't do that. Just don't do it. Stop that action that you would normally do. You know, if it's going round your head, or if it's, you know, you're running away from it, or you're shutting down, you know, just don't do it. Just use your will to withdraw from that action that you would normally take. You know, use your will. What I do, how I do this is I see a big red button in my head, and I just go poof, and I see a circle, and I step into the circle. So I'm stepping out my current reality, and I want to step in away from it, and I go no, and I'm step. And I
love that.
Take a step. I literally take a step.
That's awesome. And you know, just so that we can reflect on that particular piece, give us a hashtag choice power, because it really is like it is willpower, and it's also saying, you know, I'm using my choice power and going even that further step. You know, this is something that I choose to. I don't have to do this. I'm choosing to do it. Hashtag choice power, guys and girls.
Yep. And then step 5 is what I do here is I actually go into my heart space. So I just take my awareness down to my heart. I breathe into my heart, just a nice big deep breath into my heart. I just feel, I can feel my heart. I can just feel it expanding. And then what I do is I just allow myself, imagine myself, I'm rising above whatever's going on. And I remove myself from it, you know, I just pull back from it. And then I just see myself in a circle with a golden ball, you know, that's above my head. And I just see myself seeing as I'm rising above it. And I look at it from a different perspective. That's step 6. What's the perspective when you're in your heart space? Your true self, because it's a totally different perspective of you being in your ego.
Beautiful. Give us a hashtag heart space so you remember to come back to that. That's a really important point, because as well, Anne, you know, we can think that we're getting into our heart space, but we're still in our head. How will they know they've dropped into their heart? What's the sign?
You'll know if the perspective has changed.
You'll
know if it's changed. You know, if you're still seeing it from the same perspective, you're not in your heart space. You know, you'll see it's changed.
Good point.
You know? And look at, and then your last step is, what is the true action you take from that perspective of the heart? You know, what is the true action you take? And it's not to fix yourself.
Yeah, do you know, I know so many times I hear people that want to get out there and make that ripple, they want to make an impact, but they feel like they've got to fix themselves somehow first. There's always this if when I've lost weight, I will, if when I'm, you know, healthy, if when I've built my business, if when I've launched that lead magnet. There's always an if when. What if we could release the if when? Give us a release the if when, guys and girls, in the comments, and give us a what if in the comments as well. What if you could choose to release that? What would your life and business and health and money and relationships and the love that you have, what would that be? How different would your life be if you were able to spend more time in that heart space? I think that's beautiful, Anne.
And it's usually, what action are you taking? You know, because let's be honest, for us to change or to move into something or do something, there always has to be action. Always has to be action, you know, whether that action be that you've got to speak up, or you've got to speak your truth, or you've got to say something and reach out to get some help, you know, because you know, if somebody's in anger, usually the anger is coming from powerlessness, you know, that where someone's, it doesn't feel in control, and usually, I wish I knew all this when I was bringing up my teens, I'll tell you.
Well, we'd go back and tell our younger selves, eh?
Oh, what have a different life.
I'd love to know in the comments, actually, guys and girls, if you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would you say? Get it in the comments. I'd love to know what you'd say to your younger self. I can see Carol is busy there with her light bulb moments. I love it, Carol. Keep them coming in the comments there. And guys and girls, keep your comments coming in underneath the live in the Facebook group. I can see that at this moment in time, we are at, let's have a look here, we are at 81 comments. Who's going to get us to 100? Who's going to win the 100th comment? I think we're going to put a little challenge out there. And Carol, we can't count yours because you're in Zoom. You're putting them all in Zoom. And for those people that want to find out more about you and the amazing work that you are doing, could you just tell us a little bit more about the work that you do and how we can reach out and connect with you?
Yeah, well, you can get me at annvarney.com, my website, also LinkedIn, Facebook, Ann Varney, you know, you can get me there. Also, I also have a scholarship for that I do, that's it's a 20,000 in total that I give to as the Awakened Teen, because I think we've got such a issue with teens, and this is who's coming up, you know, for our world and what have you, and they need to be re-educated. They need to know about their emotional resilience, their behavioural issues, and what, because most of them, you know, because I used to work with teens, I even did my thesis was on the effects of meditation on children's behaviours in a local high school. About killed myself, an 8-week study, you know, but the difference in these kids, from just showing them how to relax, how to just get heart-centered and relax. It was amazing just to watch it. So yeah, I've got scholarships for that. You can get that on my, I think you would get that on my Facebook page. I don't think it's on my website as yet.
Well, I mean, if you give us all these links, I can make sure they go in all the links that you've mentioned tonight. I am going to have to wrap up, Anne. What one thing would you love to leave our Ripple Makers with this evening?
Make the effort to actually step into your power. You know, those 7 steps are really powerful steps to step into your power, because when you're in your power, nothing can stop you.
Unstoppable, #unstoppable, #infinite. Like, make up a word, give it a hashtag, guys and girls, get it in the comments there. And thank you so much, from my one to yours. Thank you for dropping in with us. We're going to be following your journey and watching you as you progress, because what you are doing in the world is so necessary. In fact, what each of our speakers are doing in the world is so freaking necessary. I don't know about you, but I related to each and every story on the stage today. If you related to any of the speakers this evening, we'll make sure that you've got the contact details for each of them. I'll put them in the description of this video once we're finished going live. Guys and girls, what did you get from today's session? What did you learn? What are you going to do? Remember, like, #action taker, like, you don't get traction if you don't take the action. Do not leave anything to chance. You are completely in control of who you are, how you show up, and how you are being when you show up. If we start giving our power away to all the things that are outside of ourselves, it diminishes our spirit, it diminishes our reason why, it diminishes our purpose. And guess what it does? It diminishes your identity, it diminishes your value, it diminishes your gift, it diminishes your purpose, and it diminishes your lane. Because how can you possibly own your lane and be memorable for that one ripple of impact that you want to make in the world if you're known as everything to everybody and you don't keep it simple and you don't take action with the right steps? I want to thank each and every one of our speakers for being with us this evening. For those of you that have joined us live, for those of you that are joining in on replay, I really want to thank you for being part of this incredible movement that we're building. Who else do you know that should know about One Drop Movement? Please invite them to come in and join the group. You just need to click on that URL at the top where it says facebook.com/groups/One Drop Movement Global. Please share that with your networks, because the more people we have to play with in this amazing playground of opportunities, the more collaborations there'll be, the more joint ventures there'll be, the more support there will be. And individually we are one drop, but together we are the ocean. Now, just before we wrap up, speaking of one drops, I've got something very exciting to show you. Do you want to give us a little hashtag drum roll? Who wants to see the first of its kind of something that I've been working on behind the scenes with one of our fellow Ripple Making Mastermind graduates? Who would like to know? Give us a hashtag drum roll. I want to show you something. I haven't even opened it yet, to be honest, right? I haven't opened it yet because I was waiting for this moment to do the big reveal. But our amazing Wendy Cheverton, she doesn't necessarily do this as a whole business, but this is something that she's been doing as a bit of a hobby on the side, and it's turned into a little side business for her. And I reached out to her and I said, oh my God, Wendy, like, you know, we have our one drop. So for those of you that don't know, as part of One Drop Movement, I actually had my mum, who's a jewelry designer, make us a one drop. And so she's made us this beautiful fused glass one drop. It's absolutely stunning. It's luminescent, so when it hits the light, it lights up. It goes on your chest area, so it's all about lighting up your heart, really igniting your voice, bringing your power to the world. So we have one drop pendants. We have two different sizes of one drop pendants. We have big ones, which I have to wear because the little ones look very insignificant on me, but on other people they look absolutely beautiful. We've got one drop charm bracelets. We've got one drop key rings, we've got one drop lapel pins for the guys. We've got a whole one drop range for each and every one of you to be part of this global movement. So I reached out to Wendy and I said, I freaking love your designs and I want you to take one of my one drops and just intuitively do something with it. So there literally will be never another one of its kind, because the way she wraps it and does the wire wrapping is completely unique. So it's one drop, but each dressing is totally unique. So drum roll, I haven't actually seen it yet. I just know I've received it in the post today. So this is Wendy's business, Twisted Intention Designs. So I'll make sure I put those details in there as well. But hey, like, get your own one drop, reach out to me and we'll organize this. But this is the first one of its kind. My mum has made the one drop and my mum makes them at her craft studio in France. Oh my freaking goodness, that is stunning. I'm so excited. Wow. Wow. Guys and girls, look at that little beauty. Look at the craftsmanship in what Wendy has done there. What do you think, guys and girls? Do you like it? Because what we want to do is not only make these, but also as part of my next personal branding retreat, Wendy is going to come and she's going to have you make your own. She's going to teach you how to wrap your very own one drop pendant. So I'm going to put my one drop on. Absolutely stunning. I just love how when they catch the light, how it just lights up that heart area. and gets that voice out there. Guys and girls, if you want one, reach out to me, and I'll make sure. And it helps Wendy too, because as a small business, you know, she's got her purpose and her movement that she's moving forward with, and she's doing this to help fund what she's doing. So this helps her, as well as you being a bigger part of One Drop. Get your One Drop on, and when you're speaking on stage, communicate from the heart. What is your One Drop? What is your ripple of impact? And have it out there making that difference. And I'm so excited to be partnering. You know, each and every one of you has something that we could be potentially partnering on and getting out to all of our ripple makers around the world. We also have one of our other ripple makers has a clothing facility where he brands clothing. So we've just had t-shirts done, we've got hoodies that we've created, we've got ripple maker caps. I sent a ripple maker cap out today to our lovely John Beamson. So we've got a whole range of ripple maker stuff that I've collaborated with fellow ripple makers from this very community. So do you have something that is of value that we can get out to all of our ripple makers? If you do, reach out and connect with me, because I want to support you. We've got Nikki what's her surname, Nikki Piper. She designs journals, so we created a One Drop journal together, a Ripple Maker 30-day journal, and she was able to put her expertise and my expertise together. We've got my daughter Jen. I have to show you some of these things. My daughter painted me this picture for Christmas a few years ago, and it's hanging up on my wall on the boat. As you know, we live on a boat. It's hanging up on the boat. And one day, one of our ripple makers bought a One Drop key ring and a pendant for his wife, for Jack Canfield and his wife Inga. And I was sitting there thinking, fuck, I've got to send this to Jack Canfield. I can't put a post-it note in with it and say thank you very much. You know, I've got to do something. So I'm going to make my own One Drop card. I'm going to send him a card. So I designed the card. I'm a designer by trade, so I find those things easy. So I designed the card, and I'm thinking, what am I going to put on the front of it? What am I going to put on the front of it? And then my eyes hit the painting on the wall. I thought, oh my God, I need to put Jen's painting on there. So I took a picture of it and I put it on the front of the card, reached out to my daughter and said, hey, I think that, you know, as an artist, obviously you're making all your money from doing this. And you know, like some artists are, you know, really struggling in the world. And with 2 kids, she's one of those artists. And so I said, hey, why don't we sell packs of these One Drop gratitude cards? So I can send them out every time somebody buys a One Drop. I can write a personal note. But what if we could get charities to buy this? What if we could get other people to buy these One Drop cards and send them out when someone's purchasing something from them? So that's how the One Drop gratitude cards came into being, and that's Jen's website on the back there as well. So I love partnering with fellow ripple makers. If you've got something that you think would make a massive difference or could be part of our product range, reach out and let's connect. Let's do something about it. Guys and girls, it's been a fabulous day, a fabulous evening. I've loved making ripples with you. We've got one more day. Come back tomorrow, same time, same place. And let me just give you a little sneaky peek into what we're going to be doing. We've got Jim Moore. Jim is going to be talking about how he built his global podcast around his purpose. And I just love the name of his podcast. He has the Bloody Vegans podcast. He's built this massive global podcast, and he's now managing my podcast for me. So you definitely want to tune in for that. We have Adele Marie. She's going to be with us talking about how to accelerate your purpose by rewiring your limiting beliefs. So any of the things that have come up tonight, we're going to see if we can do some extra work around that tomorrow. And we're going to finish with Keely Woolley, who's going to talk about how to power up your purpose and claim your why. So make sure you're back here, same time, same place tomorrow. Invite your friends to come and be part of it. I've loved every moment of building these ripples and waves with you. Let's make this the start of your journey, not the end today. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Dagmar. Thank you, Phil. I love you. And thank you for being part of this, guys and girls. Let's make this happen. I'll see you in the next session. Lots of love. Mwah. Bye for now.